please, because
I
people are telling
appreciate
me
y'all saving the
they're trying to
live,
take us down.
keeping it safe by tapping
So
like,
I appreciate
send a
y'all
gift,
saving the live,
a rose, whatever,
keeping it
just so
safe
the
by tapping
algorithm
like,
thinks, you know,
send a
this is something
gift,
that's important to you,
a
getting some
rose,
value from the
whatever,
live.
just so the algorithm thinks,
Appreciate you.
this is something that's important to you. You're getting some value from the live.
Well, somebody wanted to come up here. If y'all want to
Appreciate
come
you.
up, feel free. We're over 2K likes. Anybody that wants to come up and talk
So
to us
somebody
can.
wanted to come up here. If y'all want to come up,
Peace
feel
and
free. We're
power
over 2K
to
likes.
everybody on YouTube
Anybody
that's
that wants to
watching
come up
us
and
right
talk
now.
to us can.
What up? What
Peace and
up?
power
Welcome
to
to the
everybody on
live.
YouTube that's watching us right now.
We're live on YouTube. On
What
YouTube, I
up? What
have the
up?
fact checker.
Welcome to the live.
So, you know what I'm
We're
saying? We
live on
can we
YouTube.
can
On
ask some
YouTube, I have the
questions.
fact checker.
We're gonna fact check a few
So,
things. Who
you
are
know what I'm
brown
saying? We
people?
can ask some questions.
Can somebody answer that
We're
one
going to
for me?
fact check a few things.
Who are brown
Who are
people?
brown people?
Who are they?
Can somebody answer
Does
that one
brown
for
just
me?
mean non-white and
Who
non-black?
are brown people? Who are
Who
they?
are brown people?
Does
At
brown
one
just mean
moment,
non-white
when we talk
and
about
non-black?
Afghanistan, we
Who are
talk
brown
about
people?
the quote unquote
Because in
the
one
Middle
moment,
East.
when we talk about Afghanistan,
Then
we talk
we call
about
them brown,
the
do we not?
quote-unquote Middle
I
East.
mean, I saw the movie, what was that, White
Then
Tiger?
we call them brown, do we not? I mean, I saw the
I saw the
movie,
movie,
what was that, White Tiger? I saw the movie, I saw the movie White Tiger. And in that movie, um, there was a Indian man that said he was a brown man. So I'm confused. Are brown people Middle Eastern / Indian people, or are brown people Mexicans? Because I've heard Mexicans refer to themselves as brown too. And you can't tell me that Mexicans and Middle Eastern people are the same people. So I'm really confused. Who are brown people? Brown is us, the children of the book. What book is that? The Brown Book? The Holy Brown Bible? What book is that? We can join the call through YouTube. Okay, yeah, I turned the echo off. Y'all can't join through YouTube yet. Not yet. Right now we on TikTok. If you want to join, if you do want to join on TikTok, you can though. If you want to join on TikTok, you can. But we on TikTok right now. I'm trying to fix the software so that I can go live from the laptop. I thought I was India. So you from India and you brown. So I guess you're the same race as a Mexican person, as a indigenous Mexican person. Are y'all all brown together? When we say brown, black and brown unity, are y'all unified as a people? Do y'all have meetings and such like that? Do y'all have a shared culture or something? Or does brown really mean just non-black and non-white? Is that what that means? I'm confused. I'm confused. Except I think it's confusing for a reason. Dr. Neely Fuller Jr. says the goal of white supremacy is to confuse the oppressed in all 10 areas of people activity: education, entertainment, labor law, politics, religion, sex, war, and health. The purpose is to confuse you. Because when your enemy is direct in telling you who they are and what they want to do to you, then it's easy for us to organize and fight that foe. However, it becomes a lot harder when we don't know who the foe is, when we don't know who we are, and we confused about our identity. And we're confused about what classifies someone as one thing, what kind of oppression this person has, that person, and we all confused. So that's the goal, is confusion. You can't make sense of a system like racism, white supremacy. It doesn't make sense intentionally. It's not meant to make sense. So when we talking about brown people, if anybody in the audience identifies as brown, please come up and tell us what makes you brown. Because it's definitely not a geographic ethnicity. It's not linguistic. It's not cultural even. I guess it would be a race technically, but I mean, do you identify with, if you're an indigenous Mexican, what do they call them? Chicano. Do you identify the same race as an Indian or a person from Pakistan or Saudi Arabia? Are y'all all buddies? I'm confused. Everybody's brown. I mean, shit, I'm brown. Look at me. My color brown. Are we all just brown? Who are brown people? And because brown people are not like an actual people, right? Like it's not an actual like people group that we can tie to an area of land, which Dr. John Henrik Clarke says that the proper name of a people should always relate to land, history, and culture. Land, history, or culture. That's how you bring people together. That's how you classify people until racism comes around. And then you classify them based on phenotype. Till racism comes around. So, anyway, intersectionality is a distraction from liberation. Intersectionality is a distraction from liberation. And this idea is mostly for brothers and sisters. This is mostly for brothers and sisters. What y'all got going on intersectionally in your own black communities is of no concern or consequence to me. This is for brothers and sisters. We don't have the luxury of identifying as anything other than black or African. We don't have that luxury. Black has stripped us of so much and made us prisoners of war. We don't have human rights, but some of us are going to try to fight for other people's rights, if you know what I mean. We fighting for the rights of other things, other communities that we feel include us, but have never included us fully in their struggle. Let's be honest. Some of y'all think the way you love is who you are. Some of us think the way we love is who we are. You can love how you want. Do whatever you want to do. It's your life. It's your thing. Do what you want to do with it. But at the end of the day, what makes you who you are should always relate to land, history, or culture. Land, history, or culture. That's your identity before white supremacy came around and told you how you love is who you are. How you feel on the inside is who you are. Confusion once again. Oh man, the white man has been consistent. He has been very consistent. Confusion again. Can someone tell me what semi-bisexual means? Has anyone looked that up? I'm going to look it up real quick. I'm going to look it up. If y'all want to see the fact checker, if y'all want to see, we got it pulled up on the YouTube. So BIGBROLGND. You can go on the YouTube and you'll see I have a second screen on the live where they can see, all this other stuff that comes up. So we're going to look up the definition of semi-bisexual. They have a flag, by the way. They have their own flag. Flags are usually for nations, land, history, and culture. Remember, flags are usually for nations. However, now flags are used for who you love and how you decide to go about what you love. I mean, I guess it's not really about who you love because a straight man can love another man, right? Like, you're not, you're not gay for loving your father or your brother or your neighbor or your pastor or, like, is it really about love? These identities are given to us by our oppressor. They decide what's an identity and what's not. Just like Brown, it's meant to confuse you. Semi-bisexuality, if you look it up, is someone who is attracted to only one gender but identifies as bisexual. A person who feels a sexual attraction to one gender, usually the opposite, but considers themselves partially bisexual. That is a semi-bisexual person. Can someone explain that to me? I'll say it again. Someone who's attracted to only one gender, usually the opposite gender, but considers themselves bisexual and identifies as such. I'm confused. Are y'all confused? I'm confused. Can someone someone say, isn't that straight? They got a flag. They got a flag. You understand do you know historically only nations, tribes, nation states, civilizations had flags? Why is it that you have a flag because you're someone that's attracted to only one gender of the opposite gender and you identify as bisexual? Now you get a flag. You get a flag. You get a flag. You get an identity. You're an identity. You're an identity. And then we all fighting for these identities because the one identity that has us all oppressed and is the root of oppression for the LGBT identity, the root of oppression against them started with us. Yet, we're so quick to find so many other identities because there are white tea folks in these other communities where we feel more comfortable getting appreciation from them. The minds of white liberals controls and dictates what's acceptable for black people to talk about when it comes to their own revolution. What is comfortable to talk about as a black man on this live, what I have to say when I have to change the way I'm talking is based on what white liberals have decided for me to be able to say. I can't hold black women accountable for anything I see. Gotta be careful. Gotta be careful. I could get on black men all day, though. I could say everything. And black men do need to be held accountable. Don't get it twisted. This is not one of them lives. You ain't going to see me in a MAGA hat. This is not one of them lives. Brothers, we also must do better. We have a responsibility, an obligation, and an honor to uphold. An allegiance towards our women. Don't get it twisted. I ain't saying that. But sisters, there are things going on in our community that we've seen sisters turn a blind eye to. And I can't really speak on that too much without upsetting not just the sisters. And a lot of the sisters that get upset aren't doing the thing that sisters need to be held accountable for, to be honest. But we can all do better to bring our community together. We can all do a little bit better. But if I do it a little too unapologetically, as I've seen many people unapologetically get on black men's back, then there's going to be pushback because white women are going to say I'm being a patriarch. Although black men have no control over black women being able to hold power. We don't have control over that. Kamala Harris running with a white running mate is proof black women cannot control a black woman having access to power. For those of you that don't know, patriarchy is a system that largely includes men in power and excludes women from that power. That is what patriarchy is. It's a system controlled by men where women are largely excluded from power. However, when a black woman quote unquote, a black woman, such as Kamala Harris wants to run for president, why doesn't she run the black men if we are the ones with patriarchy? If we are the ones that exclude women from power and have control over a patriarchal system, then why did she need a white man to run with her? She would have been able to get a black man. It just had to be a man, because black men are supposedly as easily able to wield patriarchy as white men, right? Because we're just men. No. Black men are also the victims of patriarchy. And some black men don't know this. I know. There's knuckleheads out there. We know. We know. And brothers can get on those brothers all day. And they still not going to listen, because they don't listen. Just as I know there's some sisters that just don't want to hear it. Well, I think we all know a few pretendians. Not in real life. Y'all probably don't know them in real life. There's pretendians on the internet. I don't know any pretendians in real life. I have not met one that's going to be, I'm indigenous, bro. I'm from Oklahoma. Like, I don't know anyone. Maybe some of y'all do. They not at my cookout. They not at the church that I used to go to. They not at, I don't know them people. We used to talk about how we was brought here on ships. I don't know what they talking about. She needed a swing state congressman, but she chose a white man. I hear you. She didn't. She chose a governor. Tim Walz is a governor. He ain't a congressman. How come when Biden was running? Do y'all remember when Joe Biden was running, and he came out? I think he came out the Air Force One, and he said, "My running mate will be a black woman." He said that, a black woman. He said he was going to choose a black woman. And then they released the list of black women that he was looking to choose from. And it was all black. It was all sisters. All sisters. It was like 6 of them. I don't know if y'all remember. 6 or 8 of them. Just listed them all black women that he wanted to choose from. Why is it that Joe Biden can intentionally choose a black running mate, but Kamala, all her options was white men? She ain't come out and say it like Joe Biden did. That would have been crazy. If she came out and said, that would have been wild. My running mate will be a white man. Like, if she said that, that would have been wild. But I don't know. I don't see it. I don't see it. Where we're going to look at someone, that is only black if you squint your eyes, and so it's someone that's black and ambiguously, you know what I'm saying? Someone that's, kind of, claim it, but not really. And we're going to look at her with this white man as her husband. And then we're going to look at this white man as her running mate. And they white family. And we supposed to say, even though she was a district attorney and an AG, we supposed to look at her and say, yeah, you know what, black men? When she was the district attorney, incarceration rates did go up over 10%. Conviction rates went up when she was DA. But you know what? She got our back, black men. She got our back. Yeah. Okay. She got our back because we've had such a good relationship with police. Come on, man. Somebody on YouTube said, "Oh, it's still echoing." Wait, hold on. I'm gonna bring somebody up here. Somebody want to come up and talk.
Yo, hello.
Yo, what's good? What's good? Give us your age, race, and pronouns.
Black, 31, he, him.
All right. Go ahead, talk to us.
So I just read off the prompt.
Yeah, anything that you want to speak on.
White women are not a minority. This is true. Most black men vote Democrat. This is also true. Although it does bug me anytime I see a black man Trump supporter, but I digress. Who are brown people? I'm not really sure what that means, but intersectionality is a distraction. That I do disagree with. Even as someone who is based in Marxism very heavily, I'm a black communist. I do think intersectionality has its place in society, although I don't think that race should be like as drummed up as much as it is throughout the media. I think that we should focus more on class issues because that's ultimately what we agree on the most. I do think Kimberly Crenshaw and intersectionality is a very important things to build within our society, because if we're going to build a better world, we have to, keep in mind that these intersectional lines also, affect how we view each other, even within the black community. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. So, Kimberly Crenshaw,
Yeah.
the author of intersectionality, the person that kind of brought it to the spotlight.
Yep.
You're saying that intersectionality is important. So why would that be for black people? Like, what is the difference in terms of white supremacy between the oppression of black men and black women? Like, do we not have the same common oppressor?
Oh, we do. But also
Mhm.
women also have the oppressor of the patriarchy, are in the unique position of being oppressed on the basis of their race, but also they are granted privileges on the basis of their sex. You know what I'm saying? And
Such as?
I mean, think about when rights first became legal, like the voting rights. Like black men got voting rights before I think women got voting
But
rights.
that's a common conflation. So
Okay.
having it written down into law that all men are created equal, black men were
Yeah.
still in chains, correct?
Oh, for sure, without a doubt.
All right. So saying that black men have a right to vote, yet every time a black man goes to vote, he ends up a tree ornament, is not saying that he really had the right to vote. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
without a doubt. But I still think that it has merit in the way that we view and understand our relationships between those of us who are maybe on a different intersection of gender and or class, ableism. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? Like,
But all
I think
right.
that
So
has value.
all of that, I understand.
Yeah.
But where are the benefits of patriarchy for black men?
The benefits of patriarchy for the black men are being able to walk outside and not being sexually assaulted by another man. Generally speaking. Generally speaking.
Generally speaking. So what happens in prison?
That happens in prison, but like we're not
Okay.
talking about just prison though.
All
We're
right.
talking about
But
out in the public. You know what I'm saying?
okay.
Women get to walk on the street, and they live in fear under men in much more ways that we
And
are not conscious to as
but
men.
black men also have fear of
For
a
sure,
police officer pew-pewing them down.
that's without a doubt, brother. And I'm from Watts, California. I dealt with the fucking clan that is police officers. You know what I'm saying? So
But all
I
right,
hear
so
you.
you understand that that's a fear that women don't necessarily have to deal with as much as black
I
men.
mean, I would say Sandra Bland, but I
You can
would
say
also
Sandra Bland, but
yeah.
it's overwhelming. Like it's like
I,
I don't know the exact statistic. If you want, I can look it up real quick. But
yeah.
it is majority, like a vast majority of police brutality
Yeah.
and incarcerations, convictions are black men. Like it's not even close. Like it's not
Okay,
even like
that's
fifty
and that's
fifty.
fine. But I think what intersectionality gives us is a lens to look at things through different perspectives. You know what I'm saying? Like if we look at medical racism with black women, I mean they get the really shit of the end of the stick when it comes to like doctors and racism and what kind of procedures they will perform, believing that women or black people in general, but black women have more strength to deal with these things. And I think this when I say when I hear intersectionality as a distraction, I hear that like these differences between us don't matter, but I think they do matter because they give us deeper context on how to relate to each other in a more meaningful way. You feel me? And understand that like how these things may be different for people. And when Kimberly Crenshaw made intersectionality, it wasn't to rank them and to say, oh, this is the most person, the most privileged person, or this is the most, and this is the least privileged. It's just to understand how they affect each other, not to rank them. You know what I'm saying? And that,
Okay, now
yeah,
that I can agree with.
Yeah.
However, when you say black men have privilege and patriarchy and black women don't, then you've already ranked us because you've said that
No,
black
not
men uphold
necessarily.
patriarchy and have a benefit there that black women don't have.
I would say I wouldn't say that's an inherent ranking. I would just say that's an inherent difference in how it manifests in society because we
But
can say
black
that.
men don't benefit from patriarchy. We just talked about the police system. Do you believe that's not a patriarchal institution?
Do I believe that the police system is not a patriarchal institution? Yeah, but we also have differences in how patriarchy manifests throughout society. It's not just the police system.
But I understand that. But
Yeah.
in any way that it does manifest, are black men in control?
No, because we also have classism.
So then
Yeah.
black men are oppressed.
Oh, of
And
course.
so when it comes
Yeah.
to patriarchy, black men have deluded themselves into believing they can benefit from patriarchy. But that's not true. The
I would
truth
say-
is we're the victims of patriarchy along with our women.
I would say that is also true, but we're in a unique position where there are some benefits to being a man over being a woman. Would you trade a position as a man to be a woman? And
Depends on what I'm trying to do. Am I trying to graduate college?
I don't know. Maybe I mean,
If
well,
I'm
obviously
trying to
black
graduate college, then yes, I
Yeah.
would. I would rather be a black woman. Am I trying to avoid a long jail sentence or being incarcerated?
Yeah,
If that's the case, then yes, I'd rather be a black woman. Am I trying to get employment?
yeah,
Then I'd rather be a black woman.
for sure. And I think what you're pointing at right now is just how the intersectionality of it all it manifests differently.
Right, but
for
no
different
one's
people.
saying that black women benefit from patriarchy because they're the most educated and the only demographic of women more employed by patriarchy than their men
Yeah.
are, and
Okay.
less likely than black men to go to college. If this idea of patriarchy, where
Yeah.
men are just somehow privileged because they have a tallywhacker between their legs, is true, then why is it that black men are victimized more than in certain areas? Not in all areas.
Yeah.
There are areas where we have some of the concessions. However, there are areas where our women outdo us because patriarchy prefers to see our women in that position because
Yeah.
they're less of a threat to destroying patriarchy in certain instances. And so,
you know, yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you.
but that's the
yeah.
fallacy in the whole thing. You
Well,
know, that's the problem with. Have you ever
Yeah.
heard of Tommy J. Curry?
No, I haven't.
I would encourage you to look that brother up. He has a book called Man Not that
Okay.
dispels a lot of the academia is a conversation. And a lot of people think, you know, there's this one scholar, they're right, and everything else is wrong. But
100%.
it's a conversation.
Oh,
Kimberly
without-
Crenshaw
yeah.
brought up an essential part of the conversation.
Yeah.
But now there's black male studies where there is now a rebuttal to the conversation. So that's really how we end up, moving forward as a people when someone brings an idea to the table, says this, and everyone's like, yeah. And then someone else brings some other facts and statistics and data and study to something. And then it's like, okay, well, yeah, that might be right as well. And so we start to see what the actual truth is. And in his book, Man Not,
Yeah.
just like with Dr. Neely Fuller Jr., he talks about how once you're black, you're a prisoner of war. Once you're black, you're a prisoner of war. And we,
Yeah.
being black people, were always seen as just black.
Yeah.
It didn't matter if you was a man. It didn't matter if you was a woman. You wasn't getting special treatment.
Yeah.
And so until we have rights and human rights as black people, then identifying ourselves as as men and women is useless. It's pointless. We're not included in the definition of manhood.
Okay.
We don't have the guarantee to be able to provide and protect for our women.
Yeah.
We can't protect ourselves.
No, I just want to say that I am a student of life, and I'm always ready to take in new information and change my beliefs based on new information and critical thought and conversations like these. So I appreciate the pushback, but I also think there is a missing component here because I do think that black men do benefit from patriarchy in some ways. Now, and it's specifically in cases when dealing with women. You know what I mean? Like if we look at the male violence rate towards women, that is absurdly in favor, or not in favor, but like the most violence comes from men, and I would assume that some of those men are black and doing these things to black women as well. You see what I'm saying? So like in that way, black
I
men
think
don't
I
have
would
to
say
worry.
that's an interesting point that Dr. Tommy J. Curry also brings up.
Yeah, I would love to hear it. Yeah.
When it comes to intimate partner violence, that's something that is seen in environments of oppression, environments lacking resources,
Yeah.
and environments of proximity, men and women having proximity to each other. So that is something that happens when the people are oppressed and there's a lot going on in their community.
For sure, without a
So
doubt.
we understand that it's not the patriarchy that is the root cause behind why black men might be violent in a relationship with black women.
Yeah.
Did you say something? I'm sorry, my wife
No,
be
it's all
talking.
good. No.
So understanding that, we have to also understand that black men, as far as intimate partner violence, are the number one men, male demographic, to be assaulted by women.
For sure.
We're number one. So
Yeah.
more than any other man, we are, assaulted by our women.
Yeah.
More than any other child,
Yeah.
black boys are the most violated.
Yeah.
Even black boys, even the average of black boys lose their virginity earlier than black girls do.
No. Yeah.
So who are these women, doing this to our young boys?
I mean, it could be men too, though, right?
Well, the way the statistic, pans out, they're not talking about booty virginity. They talking about women. So
Yeah, they're specifically talking about women.
yeah, they are. But
And what study is that? Just so I can.
this
follow
is
up
the
on-
book Man Not by Tommy J. Curry.
Okay, I'll check it out. But I also I appreciate your thoughts, and I think what you have to say is valuable for sure. But I wouldn't excuse the lived experience of a woman who lives under the violence of
No.
black men.
Wait, hold on. For you say that because you're gonna make people that's just joining thinking I'm saying something different.
No. I'm not saying you are saying that.
No.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. You done took it there now. So before you say that, I'm not saying that women
Yeah.
don't go through it. I'm not saying women don't
Yeah.
go through it at the hands of black men. I'm
Yeah.
saying we're both going through it at the hands of each other.
Yeah.
And that is a result of patriarchy reigning terror on our community, white supremacy reigning terror on our community. It is not a power that patriarchy is not a power that black men have the ability to wield. We are also victims of it. There are black women that uphold patriarchy. The ability to commit violence against black women does not mean that black men have access to power over black women. It just doesn't mean that.
So you're saying that violence doesn't mean that they have power over women?
No.
I would disagree with that point, and I would say that the lived experience of a woman.
But even if you were to disagree, even if you were, then how do you explain the violence against black men and boys?
I would say that it is also a system of patriarchy as well. Just because we are disadvantaged by patriarchy and also white supremacy doesn't mean we also don't benefit to the slight over in the context.
Now we're talking about something else.
Well, not really.
Yes, we are, because a benefit is something where there's a net positive. So if you're talking about there are areas and blind spots where we're less affected by white supremacy, then that I can agree to.
Okay, then that's what I'm saying ultimately. But I think from the perspective of a woman, is there a difference to them? You know what I'm saying?
From the perspective of a woman, is there a difference to what?
There a difference in less affected, or are they feeling the power of a man that is beating them down and understanding that they can't fight back in the same way because they are women.
But
You
they
feel
do
me?
fight back more than any other woman.
But disproportionately, we know who win in those fights, and we
Yeah,
know.
but it's
Yeah.
it's in some areas. In some areas, the women are more affected. In other areas, the men are more affected. When I brought up those areas, you skipped right over them, as if the
No.
subjugation of black men has nothing to do with their manhood, and it just has something to do with their race. But
No, it
black
has to do
women
with the
don't go through
manhood.
the same thing as far as incarceration and police brutality that men go through. Why? Because black men's masculinity is seen
Yeah.
as more of a threat to white supremacy. So when I talk about what black men go through, it's just seen as what black people go through. But when we talk about black women, for some reason, it's just black women. When even though I can talk about certain things that you say black women go through, that black men go through more than any other man. Do you see how this doesn't make sense?
I see how you think that it doesn't make sense based on your understanding of what I've been saying. You see what I'm saying? But
Okay. Well, maybe I'm not understanding what you're saying. I've read a lot into black male studies, so I just want to know. Because I'm
no,
not speaking from my own perspective. The only reason I'm so bold in what I'm saying is because I've read Bell Hooks.
I've read Bell Hooks as well. Yeah.
I've read Audre Lorde, and then
Yeah.
I've read brother Tommy J. Curry and
Yeah.
Normana Jari. I've read the men, I've read the women,
Yeah.
and now I understand. So
Yeah.
so I'm not just speaking from my opinion. This is
Yeah.
not someone that just watches YouTube all day and coming up here and talking. But I just want to
Yeah.
I
mean,
just
I
want to
make no
highlight that
assumptions.
the white liberal
Yeah.
has made it seem as though black male oppression is just black oppression, and that black women have their own, unique form of oppression that benefits black men, and that is not true.
I would say it benefits black men in the sense that it is better to in those cases it's better to be a man than it is to be a woman, based
In
on
what
how.
area?
And
As a
we talking about
as a
violence in
black
intimate
man,
relationships.
in
Violence
what?
and violence in intimate relationships. So
Bro, look up the statistics on violence, because we're talking in circles and you haven't looked nothing up.
okay, well, I mean,
Because that's a common misconception, and I hear you. It rings more true because we've been inherently taught that black men are more violent than any other man. We've been passed down the idea of Nat Turner and black men being vilified since the making. What was the name of that movie? Something nation, Birth of a Nation.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
since Birth of a Nation, we've been taught this idea that black men are just more pathologically violent than any
Yeah.
other people. So it's easy to just say, well, because they're violent, because they're violent, because they're
No,
violent.
that's
No,
not what I'm
but
saying.
violence is not the only. Violence is not a form of patriarchy that we can use the measure, when black women also are the perpetuators of violence against black men and black boys. So if something is oppressing you, for example, redlining oppresses black people. I can't redline some white people
Yeah, without a doubt.
because I am oppressed by redlining. I cannot wield the tool of oppression against me on the oppressor.
Yeah.
So for black men to be the most essayed by women and the most beat up by their women.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're the enemy. Please, that's the thing about TikTok. This is not one of those lives, y'all.
Yeah,
I'm
for
just
sure.
hold up, because somebody in the comments talk about black women are not the enemy. No, they're not. Not at all. And we speak on the issues that black women face in our community, and we speak on the issues that black women face in society. So this is not one of those lives, y'all. Please put an asterisk behind everything we're saying. This is not one of those lives where we're going to talk down about black women, and we're not going to talk down about black men. And that's the nuance, is that white feminism and the idea of intersectionality by black women that wanted to be co-opt the white racist idea of feminism, like Kimberly Crenshaw, is that it paints it so that black men are seen as oppressors in their own community when they themselves are oppressed by patriarchy. If I'm oppressed by a system, even if there are areas in my life where I don't feel the effects of that oppression, it does not mean that I benefit from something that oppresses me. That does not make any sense. Audre Lorde famously said, there is no hierarchy of oppression. In that same poem, she says she doesn't believe it is possible for one part of her identity to benefit from the oppression of another part of her identity. This is Audre Lorde speaking. This is a black feminist.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So it doesn't
valid.
make sense that black men get pinned with, oh, you're benefiting from patriarchy because you hit women when we're hitting each other, albeit black men might do it more. Albeit black men, according to the statistics that I've seen, do it more. But there are some statistics where it's really close. Like when it comes to statistical data, 52 and 55% are like the same damn thing. Like, but you know what I'm saying? But okay, because also men are less likely to report being domestically abused. Men are more likely,
without a doubt, and
less
also,
likely to report certain things.
and also how much of that data is controlled for women reacting to the abuse of their own abuse. You feel me? Which also is a thing that happens when you are in an abusive relationship. Now you feel like the only thing you can do is further abuse, and how much does that involve in the, how much was that controlled for in the data or the study? I don't know, but I would have to see. You know what I'm saying? But I hope that you're not of the understanding that I believe that black men are inherently violent. That this is not the case. My black man, as a black man myself, would never say this. I believe that we are conditioned in society and put in positions through white supremacy to lean on anger, which tends to violence sometimes. But all this is environmental conditioning and oppression ultimately. You know what I'm saying? But I would still fall on the position that women are uniquely oppressed under patriarchy.
Men are also uniquely oppressed.
I agree.
Okay,
But-
so then
but
but that's the thing, right?
Yeah,
If I
yeah.
started a prison right now,
yeah,
everyone in here is a prisoner. There's male and female prisoners.
yeah.
The males are not going to get treated the same way as the females.
In what regard?
In regards that women have certain things that they need that men don't need, and men have certain tendencies that I would have to control in order to keep them imprisoned.
Are they in the prison together? Are they co-ed, or what's happening here?
I mean, if we're talking about prisoners of war, then I was just assumed that they're at some internment camp. I mean, I really wasn't going to make this an analogy. I thought it was
Okay, for
common
sure.
sense. You're not going to treat male and female prisoners of war the exact same way
No,
because
for sure.
women need certain things in order to just even stay alive in a
Yeah.
harsh condition than men do.
For sure.
But so what I'm saying is, when it comes to intersectionality, we have not been included in the definition of manhood. Women have not been included in the definition of womanhood. If that were the case, if men were men, if black men were men, then when they said all men are created equal, we would have been free.
Yeah,
Wouldn't have been no
well,
chains.
and
If
I,
black women were considered women, when the suffragettes got the right to vote in 1929, black women would be voting.
yeah,
It wasn't until we marched together hand in hand that we both got free access to the voting booth and were able to go and actually cast a ballot without the threat of violence. So, that being the case, we are male and female prisoners of war. And yes, there are different treatments, different effects that white supremacy is going to have on us individually.
yeah.
But that doesn't mean that, we are suffering a different form of oppression or benefiting from each other. Because again, there are areas such as education, such as incarceration, and police brutality, where the patriarchy has black men at a disadvantage and black women at an advantage.
Yeah.
Yet
for sure.
nobody would ever say that a black woman benefits from being a woman because she's less likely to get sentenced to 25 to life.
Yeah, but I think overall, black men have it better in society than black women.
And see, you said, aren't you the one that said you said there was no one better than the other? But here you go.
No,
There
well,
you go. I could run
yeah.
it back. I could run.
No,
Did
no,
he
no,
not
no.
say that?
And I did say that, but I think
All
that,
right. So
but I think, but my thing is like, we
where do
have
we
as
have it
black
better?
men.
We
Can I
have
finish?
we
Can I finish
for
really quick?
everything we have better. I'm gonna name something we don't have better. Go ahead.
Generally speaking, we talking about politicians, we talking about people, CEOs, we talking about people who run the nation, more likely to be a man than a woman. And I'll probably argue that it's
More
more
likely to
black,
be a what kind of man?
a white man usually, but I would
All
say
right then.
black men probably have
So then you consider black men to be men
of course.
in the eyes of white supremacists. In the eyes of the system, you consider us the same as white men.
No, I don't care that it's the same as white men, but you are still men. And it's different. That's what intersection is. You're a man, but you're also
But
a
see,
black man.
that's where you're wrong. Because
How so?
I just said that in this system, your masculinity vilifies you more being a black man. So you're talking about black men as CEOs. Black men are also the most unemployed demographic in the country. The most. Number one. No one is more unemployed than us. So
For
how the
sure.
hell do we benefit from our manhood? How is our manhood is directly the reason why we are less employed than black women. You can't say that it's just because we black, because black women are more employed.
Yeah.
So because we're black men, we are less employed than everybody else.
I would say that correlation isn't necessarily causation, though. At the same time, because
It is.
you can look at any random data and say, "Oh, black men are having worse than black women in this area," but we have, and when we're doing meta-analysis, doing studies, we have to control for these factors. You feel me? So we can't just say correlation is causation. We have to do an independent study on this. Is it because they are black men, or is it because of whatever decisions they tend to make, whatever, how we
Okay,
raise
see
men?
how we're getting to the pathological nature of black men.
No,
Yes, you are. Yes, you are, bro. It's so obvious, bro.
because pathological is determined by environmental settings in which we raise young boys to not feel emotions. We neglect young boys. I was neglected as a young boy. We neglect them. You know what I'm saying? We don't teach them emotional capacity, emotional maturity. So these things, and the only things we accept
Why
as men
don't we do
is
that?
anger.
Why don't
It's
we do
anger.
that? Why don't we do that?
Why don't we do that? Because probably because the patriarchy says that for men to be a man, you got to be emotionless, and the only thing you can show is strength, and crying is weakness. You know what I'm saying? Don't be like
That's
a girl.
white men. See, you're talking about
Don't
white
be like a
men.
girl.
That's not the reason why.
Well, I mean, that's what my mom told me, and she's a black woman.
Yeah, but she didn't
Don't
tell
be
you
like a
that.
girl.
She didn't tell you that for the same reason white men believe that.
Okay, but either way,
She told you that because you as a black man showing emotion could get you unalived on a plantation. And then her grandmother, her great-great-grandmother taught that to her grandmother taught that to her mother, and then her mother taught that to her.
But you
That's how
understand,
intergenerational trauma works. I would encourage you to read Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome by
I
Dr.
agree,
Joy
and
DeGruy.
I agree with that sentiment. But again, environmental factors play a role in this, in understanding that not everything we get is from our mom. You know what I mean? The generational trauma. Yeah, does that play a factor? 1,000%. I would never disagree with that intergenerational trauma. But the society that we live, we cannot exurb anything
But
outside
that's
of the
also
context of the
not it
environment
though.
in which it grows up
That's
in.
also not it. There's been studies that have been done, and the name they basically hooked up monitors to people like they do for a what do they call that test? The lie detector test. What do they call that? I forgot.
A lot of people.
Yeah, they hooked up a monitor to people's heart, and were able to like measure their reaction to different names. And the name Tyrone triggered a fear response in over 50% of people that saw the name.
That's hilarious.
Tyrone.
I got a good friend named Tyrone too, and
Yeah.
black as hell, and he's the most nicest dude you probably ever meet.
Right.
It's crazy.
Polygraph, that's the name of it. So the
Polygraph. Yeah.
name Tyrone triggered a fear response in white women, black women,
For sure.
white men, and black men.
For sure.
Because the name Tyrone is a masculine black name. So when Tyrone signs an application to be a CEO somewhere, Do you think this is not a factor?
Oh, without a doubt, it's a factor.
Okay, so understanding that, we can safely say that the reasons we see unemployment in the black community, although some of it can be the personal responsibility of people, the same way walking into the rain. If I go into the rain, bringing an umbrella does stop me from getting wet. However, I need to be intentional about bringing an umbrella because the environment naturally is going to get me wet because there's rain coming down. And having an umbrella doesn't stop the rain. So on an individual level, yes, we can take responsibility. Yes, we can raise our sons to be different, to be, different than we were growing up or being raised differently than we were. Absolutely. We can reverse generational curses. And I implore brothers to read Countering the Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys to understand more about how to do that. However, most people are not intentional about what's going on in the environment because there's so much going on in the environment that they don't even have an idea what's going on. They don't even have a clue. They're just out in the rain just like everybody else.
Yeah.
And so who do we blame for someone getting wet in the rain? I would say maybe there's a sprinkler instead of rain. Someone turned on the rain is what I'm trying to say here.
Okay, yeah.
So, what I'm saying is the environment itself was created by those white patriarchs.
Yeah.
And black men being the victims of those have some of the symptoms. However, when we talk about the root problem, we have to talk about the root problem, the root cause. And the root cause of the reason why black men it's to the heart of people. Why is that?
It's because the propaganda around black men being hyper masculine and aggressive is rampant throughout society, for sure, without a doubt.
Okay.
But I would also say that if it was a job for a position in leadership and they had Tyrone and they had Tanisha on that motherfucking job, and they would probably pick Tyrone based upon their assumptions of
that's
men
cap.
being...
You can't say that. That's cap. The statistics
please.
don't support that. Black women are more employed.
Okay, but that doesn't mean that they're more employed.
And they got names like Tanisha. They got names like Shaquisha.
But that doesn't mean, again, causation, correlation. That doesn't mean that they are more employed just because of their womanhood. They're more employed because maybe they are acting as if they are doing more things that are getting them employed. We have to do independent studies in these cases to see if the causation matches the correlation. You feel what I'm saying? And I don't say, and again, I agree with you on probably 99%.
Man, you need to stop though. That's a faulty assumption.
I disagree.
Wait,
There's no
even my wife just said that's individualism. But that's a faulty assumption, and you're going back into the idea that black men, for some reason, are responsible for their own victim, being a victim.
They're not responsible. They just set the system up.
You are doing it again because you're saying maybe it's because black women are working harder. Yet, who controls the mechanism for hiring, firing, and the means of production in society? It's white men.
Yeah.
If white men wanted to hire more black men, they could, bro. Like let's stop putting it. Like let's stop putting the onus on black women for white men hiring them more. Like this doesn't make any sense.
I'm not actually doing that.
But you are. You're saying that. All right.
Well, I said uniquely in a position of leadership. We're not talking about overall employment records. I said uniquely in a position of leadership. You see what I'm saying? Because the situation with how men are viewed in society as quote unquote better leaders just for
name a black leader that doesn't answer to a white man.
Name a black leader that doesn't answer to a white man. And that's besides the point because we're talking about women's relationship to men, not men's relationship to white men.
We're talking about patriarchy. And once again, if you're going to talk about black men as these leaders that benefit from patriarchy, then you need to tell me where there are black men that have autonomy and are leading organizations that they don't answer to any other race.
Well, it doesn't have to be supreme leadership. It could just be a manager position. It could be a CEO position. I mean, that's the nature of
A
capitalism.
CEO position is still going to. Someone
Of
said
course.
the mayor
Shareholder.
of NYC, like the mayor of NYC, is not getting taken down by the white supremacist power structure right
I
now.
mean, he deserved that, but
I'm
yeah.
not saying I'm not going to get into whether he deserved it or not until until he's guilty. Then you'll hear me talk on it.
Fair
But
enough.
you know, I will gladly talk on it if he is guilty. But in the meantime,
Yeah.
he answers to them white folks that just put him in, you know, got him locked up. So
Yeah.
let's not even play.
Yeah, but I would argue that in position of leadership, black men are seen as more ready and able to lead more than women are because of the stereotypes that are associated with womanhood and being too emotional. Leaders, and I think this, manifests itself throughout many factors or situations that are.
All right, so you bring that up, right? And let's say I even give you that. Black men are more likely to be unalived for wearing a hoodie walking down the street with a bag of Skittles and a iced tea.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
you see what I'm saying? Like, yes, there are, like you keep bringing up, like there are certain things where black men have it better. I'm not disagreeing with you on that.
Okay,
Right?
for sure.
I'm not disagreeing with you on that. But at the
same
same time, to say one is better than the other is cap.
Okay,
Because I would rather be alive and not a CEO than to have fear for my life when I get pulled over, or fear that if I defend myself against a woman that I'm going to get locked up for 25 years.
Yeah.
Black women don't get the same sentencing that black men do.
For sure, because the black men are seen as hyper aggressive, etc. Sure, because the black men are seen as hyper aggressive, etc. And
Okay, but
what
what I'm saying,
is,
so it's even across the board. I hear you, but the white supremacy does not identify us as men and women. We do. And
Okay.
that's what we keep conflating, is that we are men and women, and we can call ourselves men and women all we want. I've read too many books. Afro Pessimism by Frank B. Wilderson, the Counter Racist Code by Dr. Neely Fisher's papers, Keys to the Colors. I've read too many books that have explained explicitly how black men are specifically targeted. Lives more, where we're incarcerated more, where we're unemployed more. Even medical racism affects us in certain areas. Even the fact that 66% of slaves brought to the United States were men, were black men from Africa. 66%. We were more enslaved than
Yeah.
even black women. And for us to say, oh, no, all that, no, none of that matters because white men prefer black men. But all right, so if it does matter, then we can also say that black women being the least protected, being the most disrespected women, it matters. We can say all of these other things. We can say everything that the sisters go through. We can say everything that the brothers go through. I just get like tight when we try to say black men have it better though. Like but black men have it. No, they don't. They have it different. Black women have it different. That's the only difference.
Yeah. I just think because I do also read a lot of black authors. I have a lot of black women friends and whatever the fuck, you know what I'm saying? Not to be like I got black friends as a black person, but like I try to lean in the perspective of them and hearing how hard it is to be heard as a woman, to be heard in certain spaces.
It's hard to be heard as a man too.
No,
It's not.
because women don't. They don't
Hey.
take. They don't.
Cap, look in these comments right now. All
Because
I've done is spoke from books. I've given books. Like people are acting like I'm sitting up here giving my opinion. Read these comments
Real
right
quick.
now, and you will see that whenever black men bring up us and tell us to hush,
They will.
even Bell Hooks herself I say that because I don't really rock with bell hooks, but even bell hooks herself, and Ain't I a Woman in the book that she wrote herself, that the critique for black women that she has is that black women ignore what black men go through, apathy. And so to say that, their voices aren't heard, I hear you, but they don't hear our voices either. And I'm not saying that makes one better than the other. I'm just saying it goes both ways. It's neutral across the board. We can do this all day. This is what the gender wars is made of, except the problem is that the gender wars tell one, like, belittled, and, like, what they're saying is diminished. And I think, according to Tommy J. Curry, if you don't read books, go on YouTube and look up some of his lectures. You'll see scathing indictments of feminism in those. Like, he really gets into depth, and he has more statistics. Oh my goodness, he brings everything up on screen. But anyway, and he's a doctor in black male studies. Is not this is not Dane Calloway or some weirdo with.
Would also say that like I don't like to say one is better than the other, because I do think they are different in their own way. But I just do think that a lot of, in the same way that black women may have an apathy around listening to black men, I think black men also have a blind spot of the privilege that they have in society.
That's not because of privilege. That's where you lose me.
I would disagree.
You need to redefine privilege. You can say concession, and I would be cool with that. You can say, you can, like if I'm forced to eat, like, dog doo-doo, I might find a piece of corn every now and then that tastes good. But at the end of the day, that don't mean I'm eating something healthy, okay?
No, but it's better than having no corn.
They might not have corn, but they might have, they might have to, eating the same dog doodle from the same dog. It's just there's a different version. Like, that's what I'm saying. End of the day, that's the thing about Tommy J. Curry, that Kimberly Crenshaw, Alice Walker. I have a big problem with a lot of black feminists. After reading a lot of their work, I prefer the womanists than anything, but even them, very still problematic. Alice Walker, married to a white man. Bell Hooks, not married at all. Kind of celibate. Staying away from men, and saying that all men are violent, including black men. Making us pathologically violent. Like I said about The Birth of a Nation. A lot of them.
Said that?
Bell Hooks, yeah.
What?
She said, yeah.
I read the Will of Change in Men and Masculinity. Was that in there?
I don't know about that one. I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about that. I didn't read all of her work. She had
From what I read of her, is she also takes the stance as not that men are pathologically more violent. It's just that environmental factors can we ultimately that that they are not worse or there's no hierarchy. They are different, and I think that's not a distraction. That's an important thing that we should talk about. We should learn about. We should discuss in our communities so that we can understand how the ways that society, disadvantages all, and ultimately can
Jay-Z doesn't control his status. The white man does. The moment he goes against his boss, Mayor Adams, he'll turn it as soon as, and they will let him get away with corruption and causing harm to our community because they're okay with that. Believe it or not, the white power structure is perfectly fine with that. But as soon as he turns against his white masters, he'll be made an example of. So to say that he's in a different class or nah, man, he's still oppressed. He just doesn't feel it the same way we do.
Concessions over other black poor people.
I would say, yeah, like he
Part of
has,
class, right?
I look at it this way. He feels the effects of capitalism that are on the black community less.
Yeah, for sure.
He
Because
feels it less.
he has ascended upon in his class, and now he is viewed differently in some regard. And he has the material conditions to do a lot more for himself, and etc. But I see. But I would still fall back on privilege, even though you.
I was looking up Bell Hooks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They call Bell Hooks some feminists call Bell Hooks a pick me because she be riding for black men so much. So like I was like, I don't know if it was her.
Yeah, she said. It says here Hooks advocated for acknowledging how patriarchy hurts men, though.
Yeah,
which is what I was trying to say.
That's
patriarchy hurts men, and nobody says when JT says she wants a man to oppose patriarchy. So that's what I'm saying. There's both sides uphold patriarchy. Neither side
holding patriarchy, but she is also a victim of patriarchy. Like black men, I'm not saying they're not. I'm not saying just because one is.
That's what I just said. Yeah.
Okay, for sure. We're on the same page then. We're on the same page then. I would say that she doesn't have the same amount of options as a black man. So her going to a man, say that generally speaking, men have more money, hold more power in society over women.
Not black men. Because when you say men and women, then you include the white man. So then I can say technically, yeah, but not black men. Black men are less employed, more incarcerated, and more likely to be unalived. So a lot of black men that would be here are not here. 1 in 3 black men in their lifetime will visit a prison. 1 in 5 are currently incarcerated.
Yeah, that's true. Billionaires, politicians, CEOs is the case.
I think right now we have more black women CEOs than we've ever. I know for certain than we've ever had.
Okay, for sure.
In a Fortune 500 companies.
I would love to find that out.
Let me see how many Fortune.
And also, I would like to look at
CEOs are
Congress as well. Congress, House,
men and
Mayor,
women.
These things.
All right, hold on. No, governor. There's never been black woman governor. There's been, I think, 3 black men as governor.
That's crazy. And that's crazy in general. But
yeah, 2023, there are 2 black women serving as CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. The problem is that black people have been so, like, our oppression has been so like suppressed, and not been able to be something we could talk about, that we end up fighting over the spotlight. We end up fighting each other over oppression Olympics to try to say, no, give me, I'm more important, and we try, and he's like, that's just the nature of oppression, and that just speaks to how powerless we truly are.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. I do think a lot of that gender wars bullshit is like that. You know what I'm saying? And the only time I ever say that when like I try to advocate as far as black men is to to understand that women have it better, or not better, but they have a unique position. They don't see that. You know what I'm saying?
They're not deemed a threat. They're not deemed a threat the same way black men are.
For sure, but we know that black men have been in Congress more than black women. We can make that. These are powerful positions. I mean, even though it's not a huge margin, they have been more black governors. You know what I'm saying? And these things, I think, are a symptom of the overall viewing of black men in general, but black men being better suited for leadership and thus having more power and say over certain things. You know what I'm saying?
And that's created by white men, right? Because white men are the ones they're the ones that choose who's going to be Grand Wizard of Congress, who's going to be Grand Wizard of the city, and the mayor. They're the ones that pick and choose.
Yeah, and they choose disproportionately men more than women
because of their own patriarchy. Because they would prefer to have a black man in charge than a black woman in certain scenarios. However,
most scenarios, would you not say most scenarios? Given, I would say that even though it's small, it's close. I would say black men were in Congress before women were. You know what I'm saying? And that means something. You know what I'm saying? So I would say that there is, and just like you said, there is unique positions where black men are more disadvantaged. I'm not saying that the power makes it cancels it out. But all I'm saying is that it's something that women don't experience. So it's something that we got to understand, that like women don't have this advantage.
Right, but
we got to go
ahead. My thing is measuring, privilege or concessions by one's ability to assimilate into their own oppressor system is kind of problematic, because that's just saying, I look at that as a Pan-African, I don't know if you're new here, but I'm a Garveyite. I have
no idea what that means or anything like that, but I'm interested in learning.
All right, that means I'm a follower of Marcus Garvey and his teachings, like Malcolm X.
Are you like Dr. Umar, or are you?
I'm more like Khalid Muhammad, but Dr. Umar is a Garveyite as well. So, I'm not a goofball like he is, but he's still he's Dr. Umar. Anyway, I don't look at one's ability to assimilate into a white supremacist power structure as a measure of them, getting ahead or being more successful, because it's basically us asking who's the better COON.
I see what you're saying.
You see what I'm saying? Like,
no.
Like, black men make very good COONs. So that being the case, yes, they're going to be more. Barack Obama was willing to bomb Libya, so of course, he's going to get chosen by the power structure. She was in law enforcement, so now it's her turn to be a good COON. So it's like,
and I would agree that it can be problematic, but also I would say that it's kind of, I think it's kind of like messed up to say, not messed up, but like it's easier for us to say that as black men, that it doesn't mean a lot, or it's not that big of a deal. because we are men. You know what I mean? And we don't know what it's like to ever really be a woman and wish for that power. And even though it might be power of under the white man, but it might also provide you some concessions if women are at the table making those decisions and powerful decisions. You see what I'm saying?
No, they're not making powerful decisions. Even when black men are at that table, they're not making the decisions.
Let me ask you this: if you think that if more black women were in Congress, do you think that we would rights to their body and stuff?
I think that no matter what, no matter how many black women are in Congress,
Yeah.
that correcting what's accepted and what's not. Like we're talking about reforming the Klan. If all you have to do is learn about America's history to understand that Marcus Garvey said the Klan was the silent government of the United States. So,
Yeah. Without a doubt.
So it's like we're trying to talk about if there was more black women in the Klan, are you saying that they wouldn't burn crosses? Like, no. The Klan is going to do what the Klan does, and if you're not going to do what the Klan wants you to do, then you're not going to be in the Klan.
Well, but I think that ignores the material reality of, even though we live in a white supremacist society, things have gotten better, in some regard.
How have they gotten better?
I would just say that, generally speaking, we're not, we can vote now, and it's more tricky now.
Nah,
it's more tricky in how they.
But come on, man, our votes mean nothing now.
Okay,
moment black people got the right to vote, the less important and powerful votes became. To now, we're at the point where there's active voter suppression in broad daylight, and the president, since Ronald Reagan, the Democratic candidate, has won the popular vote and not become president. Since Ronald Reagan, every Democrat has gotten the popular vote.
Yeah, well, Ronald Reagan is the devil, so.
But I'm just saying, like our votes mattered more before we had the right to vote, and now it's to a point where the vote is just almost pointless.
I mean, I have issues with voting as well, but what I will say is, like, would you say that generally speaking that we haven't made any progress as a society in the terms of how black people are treated in any regard?
Are there not more black men incarcerated today than there were black men in chains on plantations in, what do they call that? The Dixie South?
I mean, probably. I would say that there is more, but does that mean that there are no material gains at all?
I would want to know what they are. I'm waiting.
Would you argue that? I mean, we don't have segregation anymore. We not
Yes,
getting
we do.
we not getting. I mean, on the basis of class.
That's what I'm saying. You're falling for the class illusion again. Man,
so?
class and gender, man. You really did come up here to, I F with bro right here, man, because he really did come up here to defend intersectionality. You're doing a good job, man. This has been a very productive conversation. I just want to give you your flowers, man. Like,
Hey, likewise,
you came up here with a lot of knowledgeable, insightful talking points and ways to express your thoughts. I really articulate your thoughts rather. I really appreciate you coming up because this has been fun.
Yeah,
but anyway,
likewise.
we're going to continue.
This is what I live for. I love this shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I like to shape. I mean, a lot of people like when I real time, and I enjoy this. This is like something I enjoy, and I have also enjoyed it as well. And I was like, there's no have to be right. It's more so let's discover this together kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of teaching you about Garveyism thing. Like I was the same way, right? Classism, gender, ableism, all these other things, sex, LGBT, all these things, like different ways that we're oppressed, were different, identities, different oppressions, when they're all the same oppression, and the oppression is directly aimed at us, and everyone else might get some of the splatter. They might get some of the other stuff. The residual effects might hit them, but it's directly aimed at us. When we're talking about class,
Yeah.
you know, like our ancestors were the first capital. You
For
know,
sure, without a doubt. Yeah.
yeah, like you know, they were trading us so much that they didn't need cash. You know, I'll give you one of the new ones that was just born if you give me, you know, this bundle of hay. You know, it was
Yeah. Crazy.
we don't even need cash. We trading human beings
Yeah.
like it's a Zelle. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
like it's a Cash App. But so I forgot where I was going with this. But long story short, you know, as far as uh, Pan Africans, we see the liberation of African people as our goal and not assimilation into any class. We are just as oppressed today as we were, you know, before 1863.
Okay.
You know,
All right.
they've made us more comfortable in our cage. But
Yeah.
would you ever grant self-determination to a people you oppress? Would you ever give? Would you ever train a tiger? You might train a tiger to jump through hoops. You might, you know, even every hoop that the tiger jumps through, you might feed it. You know, you might, you make sure that the tiger's well fed, gets good water, and has a nice comfy bed in his cage. But if that cage was in your bedroom every night, would you train that tiger how to unlock its own cage and walk around?
Hell no.
All right. So
Yeah.
so as long as we don't have the ability to walk around freely and do as we please without the permission of our oppressor, then we are just as oppressed as we've ever been. We can't do things by any means right now. Kujichagulia is the Swahili word for it, for self-determination. You know, so that's independence. We don't have that.
Yeah. I both for the most part would agree. You know what I'm saying? But I do think that overall we are still in that cage. You know what I'm saying? But I do think there is maybe some AC in that motherfucker now. You know what I'm saying? I think there's been some material changes. We're not 3/5 a person anymore. You know what I'm saying?
But what were we? What were we before that?
Nothing. We were fucking slaves.
What were we before we were nothing?
Yeah, exactly. But
What
it's like
were we before we were nothing?
we were somebody might say kings and queens of this motherfucker. No, but yeah, we were
We might not have been kings and queens, but we were
Yeah.
treated with respect in societies where there was justice. So
Yeah.
the reason I bring that up is because Dr. John Henry Clark says any people that start their history with slavery will see everything else as progress. So sometimes when we look at slavery, we say, "Oh, we're doing so much better now." No, we're not, because you're not starting at the beginning of the story. You're starting at slavery. At the beginning of the story, we had societies where we had matrilineal systems
sure.
set in place, where we had the Kurukan Fuga, the first ever known constitution of mankind. In the mid 13th century, a black man wrote down that it was illegal to disrespect black women, our own women, our aunties and our mothers. That's what it said.
Yeah.
And that women would have a seat at any uh, uh, a woman at the table. Like that was a law
That's
in
fire.
Africa.
That's
You
fire,
understand?
Yeah,
And
that's
we had women as rulers, and the first known deity to man, Hathor, was a black African woman. And the reason I say she was black and not just African is because she was worshipped for being fertility.
Yeah.
So that's where we come from. We lost all of that, and then we're put on plantations where our only ideas of how to build families and communities was what we saw Massa doing, and that's from Bell Hooks. She talks about that.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that we lost it, and then we learned from the white man, and so now we've got to redo all that programming. But sitting here in air conditioning, we had air conditioning back in Africa. People don't know that.
This is true, and I agree that. I mean, obviously, we had it much better at one point in time. You know what I mean? No one would dispute that. Obviously, we went through the slave trade. We
We
considered
invented air
capital.
conditioning, by the way. A black woman invented it.
W.
We would have
do all
had
this
that, but we
good
would
stuff.
have had that by ourselves. They left us alone.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
We would also never. I mean, I could go all day about that, but I think that. I think that. I think you're. I think what you're saying is true and valid. But I also think that in terms of being in America and in terms of being under white supremacy,
Mm-hmm.
that the progress that we have made, even though it's not, I mean, and this is hard for me to say as someone who considers himself a Marxist or someone who is a communist. You know what I'm saying? Like the progress has still meant something, and it has allowed us to be in a space where we two black men talking about on live right now and not being arrested and not being shot.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I think that means something. In the overall point that we originally devolved from, like males position where then family and skewed with why enable things that would help them or you know what I'm saying? Who knows? You know what I'm saying?
Differences at the top of the phone.
Yeah.
The black men are there, no matter how many black men are there, it's not going to be something to free us from our cage.
Yeah, you're right. But I think in order to be free from that cage, we're gonna need some smaller steps in order to break free out of that cage. You
See,
feel me?
but see, that's the thing. How small is acceptable to our master shouldn't be of any concern to us. Like that's the problem. Like we keep saying, no, we gotta wait. I'm looking up the air conditioner. You know, there was a black person that was involved. It was actually a black man, and I'm looking it up now. And it's saying that his name was the patent belongs to a white man named Willis Carrier. But I think it was a black woman that invented it was a black woman that invented the heating system. Because I remember learning that heating and air conditioning was contribution.
Jesus, nigga.
Yo, that's crazy. I wish I could show y'all this on TikTok. It's on my YouTube if y'all want to see it. All like everything I look up while we're talking is on the YouTube. It's literally a black woman in the same picture. It looks like the same picture, but
talking about how small of a progress counts as progress.
Oh no. See, we don't have progress until we return back to where we were at. You see, so Malcolm X said, if someone puts a KNIFE in your back,
yeah, I heard that one. Yeah.
All right, so even pulling it out isn't progress. You know, to us, we might feel like it's progress because we're so close to the initial wound. We don't really realize how close we are to that wound. My wife's grandmother just passed away. God bless her. And she was 90 years old.
Yeah.
And she seen some things. You know what I'm saying? Her grandparents told her some things.
Yeah.
And we really close. We not that far away, y'all.
Yeah.
And so because of that, we feel like we came up. But then, you know, I was someone that was in the music industry for quite a while. I done shaken enough hands of a few millionaires, some billionaires, some label executives, some of which knew Diddy, by the way. So I was not around them parties, but some of these white folks was working with him. You know, I've seen that, man, these people thinking on they taking our privilege. I mean, they're taking the privilege that they built on the backs of our ancestors, and we don't got a clue how disenfranchised we are, man.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. Yeah, it's
we
really
don't
bad.
got a clue, bruh. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, even the average white household has a median wealth of $250,000. The average black household is 27,000, I believe.
Yeah, it's insane.
27,000.
On average, they make 10 times more than black families.
Crazy.
Yeah, which is insane. So I do
Crazy.
want to ask you, since we're here, we may disagree on some things. I'm having fun. Fuck it.
Hmm.
The class struggle.
Oh yeah. So, my favorite African historian that I've quoted several times tonight
Hmm.
was a communist,
Oh,
and
say man.
yeah. So that's Dr. John Henry Clark, the
Yeah,
teacher of the teacher of Malcolm X.
yeah,
He's the one I was talking about earlier. I'm not sure, you weren't up here yet, but we were
yeah,
talking
yeah.
about how the proper name of a people should be. Okay, so we don't need communism.
You don't think so?
We had it before we were made into capitalists. So we already had is what we pretty much had already.
Mm.
And the issue with Marxism is that it says the root of oppression is the power struggle between, the elites, the bourgeoisie,
In the
and the
proletariat.
proletariat.
Yeah.
But that's not true. And in this world, the number one root of oppression is racism, white supremacy, and capitalism is a byproduct of that racism, not the
Yeah.
other way around. Malcolm X said you cannot have capitalism without racism. Uh, Stokely Carmichael said that Marxism and communism alone have no solution for black people. So he's one of the Black Panthers, unlike Fred Hampton, that was actually avidly talking against communism as a solution for black people. Now, can it be a solution? Even John Henry Clark, the communist brother that I mentioned earlier, he said, we can use anything to our benefit. So there are aspects of it that we can use, but the problem with Marxism in particular is just that it makes class struggle like the main struggle between people groups, and that's just not the case for us.
This is something I go back and forth on a lot. So I do appreciate your thoughts, but wouldn't you say that capitalism? We both agree that capitalism cannot exist without racism. Now,
It's
are you
Malcolm
familiar with?
X.
Yeah, Malcolm X. Wouldn't
I
you?
know. I'll be saying stuff, but I'll be quoting people.
Yeah,
So I
same.
agree, though. But
They talking through you.
yeah,
They talking through you
that's
right now.
that's what I be trying to tell people is that I pretty much just regurgitate shit. Like I'm not
Yeah,
really
yeah.
up here giving my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. But
All right.
I think that class is the ultimate issue in society, in the sense that racism is only an extent is only used to separate the classes. Because if there was no
That's
racism,
Fred Hampton.
yeah, that's my boy, that's my idol right there. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
And
We would overthrow the capitalists. You feel me?
and then what?
And
And then you're saying racism will be over.
no, hell no. But this is why I think that
Uh-huh.
we would still have to learn and still have to unpack that racism, but racism would no longer have its benefit because white people who benefit off of racism by being white and sticking with the whites would realize that, oh, I actually have a benefit going with the black people and overthrowing the white rich people, because that's the biggest issue, right? So like I think that it would
That's not the
naturally
biggest issue.
I think the
Poor
class
white
issue.
people,
Yeah.
poor white people just as racist as rich white people.
Yeah, but they only like that because they believe that it's a benefit to them. You know what I'm saying? And in our
It is.
society, it is in a way,
But
but it is also oppressing them based on their class. And if we got rid of that, it would unravel. The need for racism would begin to unravel slowly over time. As
then
yeah,
if that's the case,
yeah,
then why is there racism in places that practice more, is egalitarian the word, but
yeah.
practice more you know uh
Big up to
Yeah, he's
everybody
chilling.
that's still here.
Unintegrated, segregated in those places where we have a super egalitarian society. I think of like Sweden. I think of like Denmark. They don't have a lot of like multiracial people there. It's nearly as much as America. So I think that is contributing factors to why these places haven't adopted more anti-racist things. Otherwise,
Um,
Okay.
are you familiar? I'm gonna say two things. I'm gonna let you go. The Fallen. First thing, what up, Doctor Black Cabinet Education? I get the John Henry Clark was a communist from a lecture with not a lecture, a debate he had with what's that dude, Cornell West, where he debated Cornell West on the need for African nationalism. And in that debate, he spoke about how he was part of the Communist Party and how he even held them accountable. His platform wasn't communist. I never heard him talk about it anywhere else, but he did talk about it. He did talk about it in that thing. A wise, G wise. I don't want to call nobody goofy. But,
it's all good.
you know what I'm saying? Not another brother.
Yeah.
But yeah. So as far as what you're saying, there's a book by Dr. Frances Cress Welsing called The ISIS Papers. I would encourage you to look it up. So, what she does is she psychoanalyzes racism, white supremacy, and the reason why it exists. And she combines that with Dr. Neely Fuller Jr.'s work on understanding how racism operates. It's really in depth, but it's more psychological than we understand. If you look, there's also another book called White Man's Inheritance by Dr. Michael Bradley, who was a white man, and the foreword was actually by that same brother, Dr. John Henry Clark, the historian that worked with Malcolm X.
You're gonna have to send me a book list, brother.
I'm telling you, I got books for days, but basically, White Man's Inheritance talks about how environmental factors shaped the mindset of white men into becoming who they are today and shape their traditions. And so, because they're from a place where it was often, snowy, there was less vegetation, less access to abundant food and resources, they built a mindset around every man for himself and survival, independent, individualism. And Dr. Frances Cress Welsing also dives into how, in order for them to maintain that white environment where UVB radiation doesn't penetrate the ozone layer at the same rate it does around the thickest part of the globe, which would be
the equator line.
The equator, which the most land, the continent that has the most land on the equator is Africa, which is why Africa is where life began. But because that UVB radiation doesn't penetrate towards the top of the globe where the ozone layer is thickest, they had to have skin that could absorb UVB radiation from low levels of UVB radiation in the atmosphere. So they began to look at their phenotype as a way of survival. So if we have a child with a black man, then that child is going to be less likely to survive and have a vitamin D deficiency and other vitamin deficiencies because they can't get UVB radiation. And that is what began the idea that that blackness was dangerous and that their white phenotype is something attached to their identity and their survival. Now, being around black people threatens that survival. And that's why we see with Nat Turner, that's why we see with Emmett Till, that's why we see with George Stinney, the youngest black boy, the youngest person ever in the United States to be put to unaliving by capital punishment. He was 14 years old, and they put him on phone books because his head wouldn't reach.
Yeah, that shit was crazy.
Yeah, and so, we see with, but when I say Nat Turner, I'm talking about Birth of a Nation, where the white tea woman is seen as the victim of this, ravenous, rape her, SA her. And you also see where white people are the only people who have ever snipped the jewels off of black men when they were hung. You know what I'm saying? So, so the reason behind all of that is because men have the ability to impose relations, and white men know this because they've imposed relations on our women for centuries. And so their fear that we have the ability to do that to them and ruin something that they see as necessary for their survival, their phenotype, is the reason for racism. So that means no matter what happens with classism, no matter what happens with capitalism, they will find a new way to protect that phenotype which they identify with that no one else cares about.
Yeah.
We have all the colors of the rainbow from chalk to charcoal in our race, but they have to keep that phenotype pure. That's why they try to control and dominate everyone else and keep us separate from their neighborhoods. They gentrify our neighborhoods, kicking us out, moving themselves in. They redline us. They keep us from having power because they're so afraid that if everyone were on equal footing and everyone were able to move freely in society, that there would be mating and their people would no longer have the phenotype that they see as essential.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that obviously has merit. You know what I mean? Environmental factors play a huge thing, and we can go at length into the insecurity of white identity, and how it is ultimately just so terrified of, being a race that it ultimately is trying to kill and subjugate all those around it, for sure, without a doubt. But I guess in my view and my hope is that, I view it as no one is inherently, one way or another, and everything is determined by environment. And with a couple generations under a socialist revolution, where we put the means of production in the hands of the people and not capitalists, I think the education, the media that we put out will have to be very choosy, and I hope that we can create a world where these things don't, mean as much to people anymore, because there won't be any differences in how people are treated in the sense of like class and how much wealth and et cetera people have. And I guess that's my hope. Maybe that's idealist, you know what I'm saying? But those are my thoughts.
Yeah. All right. Let's let the fallen talk to us. What's going on? Give us your age, race, and pronouns, please.
No, all good though, brother. It was a great conversation. I'm gonna head out, bro. Thank you so much, man. I dropped you a follow. I would love that book recommendation list if you want to send it to me. No pressure.
Absolutely. I got you after we get off the live.
All right, brother. Have a good night.
One love, brother. Peace.
Hey, how you doing, brother?
Peace. Age, race, and pronouns for us.
I'm 32. I'm black. And he, him.
All right, talk to us.
Yeah. So everyone here should watch the documentary Censor Yourself. It will give you a little bit of insight into Edward Bernays. Towards very specific. The human psyche has been very specific, kind of tasked with doing the impossible. And what I mean by that is we're tasked with solving problems that no other race within this country has ever solved. And I think that will it'll make sense as time moves forward. But if everyone can watch that and realize how easily people sway regardless of creed or religion or background, it'll be like how much the government, the powers to be, are willing to manipulate sway, influence, and change our minds to move in a certain direction. But with that being said, this has been used for a very long time, and it works on any race. But unfortunately, again, we are tasked when possible, and it is we're able to limit. This is ironic, but when it comes out Shali or Saudi, we've risen to the occasion. So we made cynical college. Get with plans to name the positive winners. I don't want to get my hands on this.
Okay, man. Appreciate you sharing that. If I would watch it together, we can watch it in our Africans, the Discord, and watch it. It's just Discord. One of the that's the live and meeting with Brother Sissy on Saturday. Bullet or this Black Man Stadiums, and on we have our weekly conference. We got others that just going in the diaspora.
Said B1Network.
Yeah, B1Network. Yeah, you see, it's a website. Just little that's moving around. There's others. Research initiative, but it's a nonprofit that's building a website. Scotia is a free online. It's an encyclopedia like Wikipedia. It's an online encyclopedia, but it's an African perspective. So we'll have other articles that Wikipedia has, but we're going to tell it in an African perspective, meaning that basically we're about Columbus. We're going to tell you an explorer. We're going to tell you the colonizer up is the thief. We're going to call been publicly branded as radicals and vilified. And we're going to tell you how black fucked out people. We're going to talk about history. We're going to grab images like timelines and maps where you can go on Google Map and see locations where South might have had events where there were certain nations in Africa or people in the old time thing. So we're all going to be working on it. Our team, our brother, our brother. That's what it is. So
still quick. The reason he had a project that decided to, and he researched and realized how much difficult and was not aware of. And I mean not in a way to be argumentative, but to be curious. You're here for a reason, and you point in different directions. Hopefully, you don't remember my voice. I'm gonna say I do appreciate you being here. So, brother,
sir,
keep going. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you. I'm not here for a reason. I haven't done as much lately, y'all, but it's because I've been doing more work for my people than coming up here. Impressed with how Black is to let brothers and sisters that are willing to unify come to initiative and unify us. We need volunteers to build this. We need to help us make content for war building, love profit. And the reason all this is unify. If we're not talking about Black people together do things, like to actually do something, not just talking, not even start unity, but talk unity, get people together and doing something. If we're doing that, then all your favorite pro-black talkers are winning. They just J. Cole has line in a song called "The City" where it says so many activists he said activists so much they probably wish we press what he said. And that's fact. A lot of these TikTok activists come up here and make money and profit off of making content about oppression. They have done nothing themselves. So what is it? When you make money, the problem, nothing. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't want to make your money. I mean, not saying that they're able to solve everything, but should be some part of the solution. Be something build. Psychophobia is something that's going to last for generations. Black people are going to be up at the circles and circles based on the criteria, of course, before they join and can We have to meet certain criteria. We do have an ordering process. However, we're able to make sure that is a website that the unapologetic is through some of these years.
But before I go, to ask what the name of the documentary was, the Century of. So this is not a documentary of the by a of certain European American people trying to figure out the control population in America. The very strategic at the very time. So if you got in the right mindset of how they think, how they control, how they manipulate, this is like the maybe first like and the very it's in clinical psychology. So imagine that person has been doing this for a long time, studying people, and people, especially in this free. And that's very applicable, especially what our goals are. But I want you to go with your own ideas. I want you to get your own opinions on it and drive what happened about has been applied already and what it means for us because it's been not very long since the science has been applied, and the scary thing for me is specifically I'm gonna go. Hope everybody here hear my words and is able to actually find what is it that I point them towards.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to check it out, man. Appreciate you coming up. I didn't want to ever give off the impression that I'm a liberal. Please don't get it twisted. I'm not a liberal. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I am an African. And because I'm an African, Ubuntu, I put my people first. I see myself in my people because of who y'all are. I am because of who y'all are. And, at the end of the day, I don't see a way to black liberation with the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. I don't see a way to black liberation with feminists or pills. I think that at the end of the day, black men are just as equally oppressed in different ways, but just as equally oppressed as black women. Because the oppression of black women still affects black men. We can't talk about black men and black women oppression as if it's two separate things. As if there's going to be a day of black liberation for black women, and they'll be liberated from the patriarchal hands of black men, and black men will be liberated one day and leave black women in the dust. Like, we have to do things together. We tried it separately. Black women tried it when they tried to get the right to vote with the early suffragists. It didn't work. Black men tried it when they got the right to vote, head down to them white men, tried to vote and ended up becoming tree ornaments. We tried it separately. When did we get the right to actually walk to a ballot and cast our vote? That was when black men and black women marched together in Selma, Alabama, did march on Washington, and when we stood together, that's when we became a threat. To the point where there's a senator named Martha Griffiths, who was a senator during the 1964 Civil Rights Act, that said that if they pass civil rights acts without including gender, that the bill would give more protection to black women than it did white women. We were worried about black women having more rights than white women. When we were marching together, black men and black women would have rights that they did not have. Because when we marched together, we both succeed together. They wasn't worried about black men. They was worried about black women. And so she introduced in Article 7 of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, she introduced gender to it so that white women would be included in the Civil Rights Act. Former slave owners, don't forget in her book, I forget her name, but the sister that wrote of slaves were owned by white women. So the women that owned black people as property were now included in a civil rights bill that was built on the backs of black men and black women so that they could now benefit from welfare, they can now benefit from affirmative action and get employment, and they can now benefit from affirmative action and get into schools. So at the end of the day, intersectionality is something that has been weaponized against us. I think it behooves us all to understand, that we are uniquely affected by oppression. We are uniquely affected by oppression. Straight black people are uniquely affected by oppression than LGBT black people. Women are uniquely affected by oppression than the men are. Rich black people are uniquely affected by oppression than poor, I won't call us poor, but lower income black people are. Like, at the end of the day, it feels different depending on what you have on top of your blackness. But the root, the thing that not only ties us all together, but is the actual cause of that oppression, is our blackness, our proximity Africanness, and us being vilified and dehumanized. We are the most dehumanized people on earth. How can you be dehumanized and a man at the same time? When they said all men are created equal, they meant men. They didn't mean non-humans like us black men who were still in chains. When they said women have the right to vote, and it's the women's rights movement that got women the right to vote, and they gave white women the right to vote, they did not consider black women to be women. So why do we act as if we, in our opinion, are these two separate groups of men and women? Oppressed, you are a male and female prisoner of war. They will talk about how you have different genitals and treat you differently based on those genitals. When a black woman gets older, she doesn't have the likelihood as a black man of not coming home that night. It does happen to sisters too. Don't forget, they're very masculinized. But the statistics show that black men are the #1 victims of police brutality. And we understand this. Black men are the #1 victims. However, when it comes to medical racism, affects black women giving birth to our children and being able to come home after delivering a baby, black men are not as affected by this. Black men are not as affected by this. In other areas of society, when a black man does get a job, he's more likely to get a higher salary than a black woman. So there's different areas in society where women are going to see that there's a concession to oppression, but it does not mean that she's the beneficiary of that oppression. It doesn't mean that the black man benefits from mass incarceration, the military-industrial complex, police brutality, and other things that oppress black men just because he's able to hit a woman. That doesn't. The patriarchy deems black men a direct threat because we don't have a patriarchy. If we're going to talk about intersectionality, then let's talk about it truthfully. The oppressor has an intersection. The oppressor is not just a man. The oppressor is a white man. White man, even if you want to say men are in charge, is the white man that decided men are in charge. And he remains on top of all other men. So that being the case, the oppressor has an intersection. Have y'all ever heard of King of the Hill? There can't be two men at the top of the hill during King Hill. There's only one man at the top. So our black masculinity stops us from receiving the benefits of patriarchy because we are deemed a threat to men's rule of patriarchy. We're deemed the threat. We're directly a threat. That's why we're the most incarcerated. That's why we're the most heavily controlled and put in prison. That's why the school pipeline for young black boys. That's literacy rates amongst our boys. The illiteracy rate of a young boy by the time he reaches 4th grade level determines the probability of that boy going to prison. So if a black boy reaches the 4th grade and cannot read on grade level, that is a predictor for him to be incarcerated when he gets older. He's going to be in jail. That is called the Matthew effect. Look it up. Matthew, like Matthew, Mark, and John. The Matthew effect. Look up the Matthew effect. 50% of black boys cannot read at 4th grade reading level when they're in the 4th grade. So what do you think is going to happen to those black boys? The Matthew effect is not a type of statistic that assumes or is a type of statistic where, okay, it's likely. The Matthew effect predictor. Is that accurate? And so our young black boys not being able to read is a predictor that they're going to be incarcerated in the future. Now tell me why, if black boys are in the same school system as black girls, black boys, if we all in the same school system and there's a system of patriarchy that is supposed to be in place, then the black boys should be more privileged than the black women. And don't tell me it's because the black boys are less willing to learn and don't try as hard. Don't tell me you believe that black boys are just somehow naturally less capable of learning to read. Frederick Douglass taught himself how to read. There's many black men throughout history that was able to teach themselves how to read. Maybe it's the fact that most teachers are white women, and white women are more likely to cater to look after black girls than they are black boys, because they vilify black boys, because black boys are more likely to get detention than black girls are. Black boys are more likely to be chastised than black girls are. And eventually, because there's a thing called learned helplessness, at a certain age, black boys have this feeling where they feel less capable of being able to learn because they've been vilified so many times by a teacher that don't know what the hell is going on with them. And boys from fatherless homes without a man in the home, where a woman is trying to be his father and his mother at the same time. Now, of course, it's on the men for walking out. We can put it on the men. We talk about the men too. It's on those men for walking out and creating fatherless homes. Notice my selective word in there. I'm not talking about single mothers. I'm talking about fatherless homes, because the father is the one missing. We don't put it on the woman. But boys being raised in these fatherless homes where they had no control over whether the man was going to walk away or not. They had no choice in who their father was going to be. But the boys raised in these fatherless homes have only women as authority figures. Women that don't understand that boys learn differently than girls do. Boys learn differently. Boys are visual learners. Boys learn differently. Y'all can't use the Eurocentric, boys and girls both learn the same. That's not true. In Africa, we knew this. In Africa, the men taught the boys. In Africa, the women taught the girls. Mm-hmm. All men across the globe have a tendency to oppress women. That's cap. White men across the world have a tendency to oppress women. Y'all keep confusing oppression with the effects of oppression. Lowest globally, a majority of us must recognize that in working on building community around that. We need to build community around unity. Some of y'all conflate oppression with purveyor or the perpetuator of a system. Perpetuation, like if a system is in place that is dangerous to black women and I participate in that system, I am not the oppressor. The oppressor is the person that created the system that made it dangerous for black men to be in this environment. But I am the purveyor and I am the perpetuator of moving that system forward in this specific area, because I've adopted and I'm complicit and I'm working with the oppressor. So that's different than being the oppressor yourself. White women straight hate seeing black boys do good. Absolutely. White women should not be the teacher of any black boy, but neither should women. Neither should black women. I mean, there are things that I guess, mothers can teach us, of course. Mother passes down the culture. I'm not saying, but at a certain age, specifically age 15 in many civilizations, the men would come and take the boy away from the mother and raise and teach the boy how to be a man. And we need to get that. Black men, there's a need for us in our community. All right, we got to go. It's time for me to hang out with my wife. White women came up with the idea that all men are oppressors to separate themselves from white supremacy. White women came up with the idea that all men are the oppressors to separate themselves from white supremacy. Carnelian Cryptolite, that's the most true statement that's been on this live today. No, she's not a female. She's a black woman, I hope. Carnelian Cryptolite. I hope you're a black woman. I don't know. That thing looks like a flower. So I don't know if you're a black woman or not. We don't call black women females today. We don't do that. I mean, we are male and female prisoners of war, But it's respect for humanity. We call our sisters women, you know what I'm saying? Just out of respect for their humanity. Thank you, black women, for giving us all humanity. Y'all are the reason we all have humanity. Thank you. And I'm not talking about giving birth. I'm not even talking about giving birth. Black women just keep it real for everybody around them, to the point where when you're a black woman, when you're a black man and you're around a black woman, you're going to have a human experience. You know what I'm saying? She's going to keep you humble. She's going to keep you in line. She's going to keep you from getting too much into your ego. You know, she's going to keep it down to earth, keep it real with you. Even black women that I don't get along with, you know what I'm saying? Like a majority of black women, I would say, keep it real above all else. Like, they want to tell you what it is. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes they'll be too honest, but they going to tell you what's going on, how it is, how you feeling. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to sisters, man. Shout out to our comrades, the black woman, the first woman, the woman that teaches us humanity, teaches us humility. What do you think about Indian women? I don't think about them at all. I don't think about them not 1 second of the day. All right, y'all, I'm about to get out of here. Appreciate y'all. Big up to the sisters in here. Big up to the brothers in here. All I know is all women fear walking to their car at night. I have been abused by men. Most women have. I'm not sure about most, if that's a true statement, but it could be. I would believe it if that's the case. And I'm sorry to hear about your experience, you know? And if you're a black woman day, then that means that there is no system for you. Black white women are protected from black white women are protected from me walking behind them in the street, walking to their car at night. You think they're not protected? They're protected. And even if they're unprotected in that moment, they're going to get justice. You know, they're going to get justice whether or not the perpetrator is or not. Look at the Central Park 5. White women are protected enough to the point where there's videos of white women taking all their clothes off and standing on the counter at IHOP and McDonald's and doing crazy stuff because they know that nothing bad going to happen to them. Let me walk on my street with no clothes on right now. Somebody going to call the police. I'll be, man. But all women fearing walking to their car at night is not the same thing as black women fearing walking to their car at night, because black women don't have a system of justice to protect them. Black women don't have a system of justice. So it's not about all women. That's the thing. As long as men and women have lived together in proximity of each other, there's been a need for a system to provide. Malcolm X said this, and I hear people say this a lot, where he said that, you know, and it's very selective. I hate how selective people are with Malcolm X. I really despise how people select and choose what they listen to from Malcolm X. Peace, Sister Destiny. But Malcolm X elected and most disrespected person on the planet. He said she is the least protected and the most disrespected, man. And that is facts, man. I've got to shout out to Omar Wale, Malcolm X, El Hajj, Malik El Shabazz, man. That's the great scholar. But he also said this, that the black man is the most vilified person on the planet. The most vilified person on the planet. So when we talk about men and we talk about violence against women, we have to make sure to have these conversations without vilifying black men. We have to have these conversations without perpetuating that same idea that is in The Birth of a Nation. That same idea that was passed down from the first suffragettes, who were Klan members, who said we should hang black men 1,000 a week after they got the right to vote, to teach them not to vote, that voting was not safe. The time they are boys and trying to learn to read, to the time when they get older and they're put into the prison part of the school to prison pipeline. You know, that's the thing. We got to be more nuanced in these conversations. That's why I get so upset. I don't even watch gender wars content. It's a waste of y'all time. I encourage no one to watch that. Please just keep scrolling. If you hold down on your screen, you can click not interested with this live creator and just keep it pushing. I don't have time for that division in my home. Me and my wife are happy. Me and my wife are fulfilled. Me and my wife are working towards our goal. Everything that I have a PIN number or access code to, she is well aware. She has just as much a right and access to anything that I own that I do of hers. And we are working together to build our family and build our lives the way that we sought out to when we got together in the first place, when I first met her. And I knew what I wanted in my life from myself, and I saw her as a vision of me going in that direction. I saw her as someone that would be a partner and someone that would protect that idea of who I am and that idea of what I wanted to do. And that's the thing about the gender wars content is it starts with men. Any man that comes on social media to complain about women is a red flag. Just keep it moving. That's a man that don't know himself. I have no complaints about black women. I have no complaints about black women. There are things that we can talk about that as women that have been so disenfranchised and women that have been so hurt, there are things that we can talk about where black women can take self-accountability and self-responsibility to fix certain things in their own personal parameter, their own personal life. However, the effects of systemic racism community. The same with men. But I have no complaints as a whole about black women because I have knowledge of self. I know who I am, and I know a woman can't dictate my happiness. I know that tearing up and talking down about black women is not going to make me a better man. So I have nothing to complain about with any black woman. And I know that a lot of brothers don't have the knowledge of self that I have. So there's plenty of stuff that I have to talk to brothers about. Brothers, and that's the problem with feminism is when it comes to black men. We think that we can benefit from that shit. We think that having power over a black woman will make us feel less powerless because we don't have knowledge of self and understand where African manhood power, where African masculinity, where the spirit, the spirit of Ogun, where the energy that comes from our ancestors, the masculinity definitions that were passed down from our ancestors, that there has been black women that I can think of a time in my own personal life where black women have stopped and watched my interaction with police. A black woman recorded George Floyd, did she not? Did she not? Because we're supposed to be protecting each other. We're on the same battlefield. But this country, did you know that? There was a time in this country when black women and black men would be sold to separate plantations, have their children taken from them and sold to separate plantations. Systematically, we were divided. And systematically, we were kept divided where we had to jump the broom because it was illegal for us to get married. No other ethnicity, racial group in America has been through that. No other racial group or ethnicity in America was vilified for marrying and choosing their own people. We were. And then we had the welfare system, which incentivized black women not to have a man in the home. Yes, it's true. I know y'all hear the red pill saying it, but unfortunately, it's true. There was a time in America where if you had the baby father in the home, they would look at you and say you didn't deserve as much welfare. You didn't deserve as much ability to feed yourself. That's crazy. To feed your child. That's wild. And they still disenfranchise us. How many of y'all know that when there are two household incomes, you get less of a tax break? Do y'all know that? You pay less taxes when you're a family of two or more and there's only one household income. Do you know that? And guess what? The average black family has more than one household income when we stay together. Because usually, just like on the plantation, the black man and black woman are side by side working. There's never been a time in America where black women didn't have the right to work. That's why joining the feminist movement and joining these women, these white women, that is upset that now black women are not cleaning their houses for them and marching. They was marching for the right to work, back in the day. Black women ain't never had to march for the right to work. Y'all been working since the moment you stepped foot on American soil. So I'm gonna stop preaching. I gotta go. Oh wait, I think she in the shower now, so I might have a little bit more time. Anybody want to come up? Y'all can. Anybody want to come up? Y'all can. I just had to get this off my chest, cause we was talking earlier about the sisters, and I just had to make my stance clear. Like, this is not Red Pill Live, and I know y'all see a man in the image of a black man. Malcolm X said it: we're the most vilified people on earth. Black men are the most vilified people on earth. And I know some of y'all might have trauma from a man that looks like me. You know what I'm saying? And some of that trauma might get triggered when you hear a man talking about black women. But I guarantee you, my allegiance is to black women. I'll tell you that right now. I do have lives where I hold these brothers accountable. I do have lives where brothers need to get spoken to a certain way. And that's important. But I just want to make it clear, because some of y'all might just be passing through or something else, because we was talking about the right. These red pills, these weirdo passport bro guys, all these weirdos. Like that I ain't one of them. I'm a Pan-African Garveyite. I got my Amy Garvey right here with me. She building with us. We got B1 Initiative Foundation. Shout out to B1 Initiative. We're actually doing things. These red pill folks, they ain't doing nothing. What they doing to help black people? These gender wars lies, what they doing to help build black people? You'll scroll past and the prompt will say, you know, are black men the weakest link? How's that helping us? How is that conversation helping anybody? Who does it help? Who does it benefit? I'm sure that TikTok live user is getting paid. I vilify all men is what I'm saying, honestly. I think you need to heal, Day. If you lump black men in the same category as other races of men, then you need to heal. We all need to heal in some way. Ain't nothing wrong with that. I need to heal too. Except my resentment is reserved for my oppressor. You know, I feel like it's justly deserved, but I need to heal as well. When white tea people even look at me, I get upset. My skin crawls. I'm gonna be honest. When they even look at me, they don't even gotta say nothing. They look at me with them blue devil eyes, light blue, frosted blue devil eyes. I'll be like, oh my God, please keep moving. Please keep walking. Please don't say nothing to me. When police come around me, I start sweating. My heart start beating faster. Oh, is it white girl? Oh, okay. Oh, that makes sense. If that makes sense, because they the ones that do the all men, every man is the same as our men. Because whatever's going on with us is going on with everybody. So if our men are the problem, then all of your men are the problem too. All men everywhere are like white men. You know? It's like when white folks tell you that you need sunblock. Y'all ever had a white person tell you you need sunblock? Let's use our common sense. Like R. Kelly said, use your common sense. Come on, use your common sense. Like R. Kelly said. So y'all ever had white folks tell you you need sunblock as a black person? They said that you could get skin cancer too, so you need sunblock too. I know the reason why they're saying that. The reason the white folks is saying that to us is because they think that everything that happens with them and everything that's healthy for them to do is healthy for us to do too. And that's why medical racism is real. Some of y'all don't really know about medical racism. Medical racism is real. Medical apartheid is real. Medical racism is the idea, well, it includes the idea that what is deemed healthy in society in medicine is based on what is deemed healthy for white people. They don't care about the fact that our people are from, warmer climates, more humidity. They don't care about our biology is different than theirs. They just put us all in one human category and think that whatever is healthy for white folks is healthy for everybody else too. We done been on this planet for 300,000 years. At least 200,000 years without sunblock. And now, for some reason, after white folks invented it, we need sunblock. It's healthy for you. We do get skin cancer. Well, we don't get skin cancer from the sun for the most part. Like for 30 times more likely to get skin cancer from the sun. 30 times. 30 times. If someone is 30 times more likely to get something and they need sunblock, why are you going to look to us, someone that's 30 times less likely to get something, tells we need the same thing that the people that are more susceptible to that disease need? Like, how you going to say we need the same thing? Use your common sense. That make no sense. That make no sense. Now, the reason that they say black people are going to need some as well is because not all black people have brown skin. Not all people in the race classification that are seen as black have black skin. You know, C.J. Olin is a very light-skinned person. If you watch your eyes, he looked like a white man, like, with big old locks. When I met him, he didn't have locks.